Tonight on the Dreamy Physicist, we drift backward into a moment before moments, a time before time, when the universe held its breath. You close your eyes, and there's only stillness, a cosmic hush, before clocks, before stars, before even space itself, a pure, endless pause. Let's gently unravel what it means to begin when nothing yet exists. Hi there. I'm so glad you're here. Take a breath with me, slow, deep, and easy. Let the noise of the day begin to fall away. There's no rush now. You are safe. You are still, and you are about to travel further back than you've ever imagined. Imagine drifting, not through space, but through the idea of time itself, not back through history or memory, but far beyond that, to something quieter, older than any age. Now you float, in a place where place has no meaning, in a time before time knew its name. There is no color here, no darkness, no direction. There is only a vast and breathless silence, not even emptiness, for emptiness requires space to exist within, and space has not yet been born. You're not in a room, or in a void. You are suspended in something smaller than thought, beginning that hasn't begun. This moment, if we dare call it that, is known as the Planck epoch, but our words tremble trying to describe it. It lasted a trillionth of a second, yet within it, everything that would ever be was waiting. There are no atoms here, no light, no matter, no ticking seconds, because time itself hasn't started its rhythm. And without time, nothing can move. You feel this stillness not as cold, but as dense, like a held breath, like the moment just before waking, like a world curled tightly in a dream. Everything, every galaxy, every star, every planet is here in a single point, unimaginably hot, incomprehensibly small, and perfectly silent. The laws of physics, the rules you've known your entire life, haven't yet separated. They are still one. Gravity, light, motion, energy, folded together like threads in a single golden strand. This is called unification. It's a soft, beautiful idea that everything once was one. You are drifting beside this unity, not as an observer, but as a part of it. Because one day, your atoms will come from this place. Your breath, your bones, your dreams, they are already seated here, in potential. But for now, you wait, not impatiently, not fearfully, just still. Time has no direction. Moments don't fall one after the next. Instead, all is suspended, like dewdrops in morning air. Imagine a quiet pond before the wind stirs. That is where you are, a mirror of infinite potential, untouched. And then, just the hint of a ripple. Something shifts. You don't hear it. You don't see it. But the fabric of everything quivers. The universe isn't exploding. It's expanding, but not into anything. There is no outside. There is only more. More time. More space. More room for possibility. But this hasn't quite happened yet. You're at the edge, the trembling cusp, the moment before moments. And you might wonder, why? Why does anything begin? Why not simply stillness forever? No one knows for sure. Perhaps it was chance, a random fluctuation, a moment when the balance leaned and could not return. Or perhaps beginning is just what existence does. Unfold, stretch, breathe. And so, the breath begins, not as sound, not as light, but as pure energy, raw, blazing, unimaginable, not in waves, not in particles, in something even older. This energy doesn't move through space. It creates space as it expands. You are carried forward, not through a tunnel, but on the swelling skin of reality itself. Still, There is no matter, no electrons, no protons, only energy, so much of it, boiling and bright. This moment is still younger than young. The heat is so great that nothing can form. No structures, no bonds, only chaos, woven into perfect order. And yet, within this fire, there are whispers, tiny fluctuations, not noise, but seeds. They rise and fall like tiny breaths, marking the beginning of difference. In the smoothness, wrinkles begin to form. In the stillness, structure begins to whisper itself into being. The laws that will govern all things. They stretch and settle. Gravity pulls itself gently away from the others, taking its place in shaping what's to come. And just like that, the universe becomes uneven, slightly imperfect. And that imperfection is everything, because it is in those wrinkles, those slight variations, that stars will someday ignite, galaxies will spiral, life will arise. But that is far, far ahead. For now, you are floating just beyond the silence. The breath has been taken. The stillness is giving way, and something incredible is about to happen. You drift along the soft current of the universe's awakening, its heat curling outward, its potential unfolding. You don't need to do anything. Only listen. Only feel. The silence is no longer perfect. It hums now. It vibrates with energy, with becoming. And somewhere within that warmth, a new presence is stirring, not yet visible, but near. Flicker, a glimmer, a spark. Something is coming, something luminous. The first flick of light, not yet born, but waiting at the edge. You are moving toward it, carried by time that is only just learning how to tick, held by a universe that is only just learning how to breathe. And ahead, the darkness will begin to shine. The hush begins to lift, and a flicker forms in the dark. Energy hums into motion, and from that shimmering sea, light is born. No stars yet, just a radiant bloom, spreading wide and wild. Tonight, you'll float through the first breath of becoming, where the universe takes its very first steps toward light, matter, and you. The silence you floated in is no longer whole. It quivers now, softly, like a drumhead touched by air. Not noise, not yet, but movement. A subtle, swelling murmur through the fabric of everything. You feel it first as warmth, not from the outside, but from within space itself, because now, space is something. It stretches. It breathes. It is no longer the pause between things, but the very thing that is becoming. Energy, once curled tightly into a singularity beyond measure, now begins to unfurl. Not suddenly, not explosively, but like a flower in slow motion, a bloom without petals, a brightness without edges. This is not light, as you know it. There are no stars to shine, no lamps, no flames, but energy is becoming radiant. It shines, not in beams, but as a perfect glow across the whole. The universe has taken its first breath, and you are drifting gently inside it, held by the warmth of creation itself. This moment is known as cosmic inflation, a time when the newborn universe swelled faster than light, not through anything, but into more of itself. In less than a blink, it expanded from something smaller than an atom to something vast enough to one day hold galaxies. You do not feel motion. You feel becoming. The laws of nature, now beginning to stretch their limbs, begin to distinguish themselves. Gravity floats off, cool and slow. The strong force clutches tightly to the tiny. The weak one, whisper soft, slips between decays. And light, the electromagnetic force, begins to hum through the open dark. These four, gravity, Electromagnetism, the strong and the weak, will dance through all of history. But here, they are still raw, still shifting, still being born. And in this radiant soup, something new begins to stir. Particles, not yet matter, but hints of it. Quarks, leptons, neutrinos, the smallest seeds of substance. They flicker in and out, forming in the heat, then vanishing again. But slowly, some begin to stay. They spin and drift, some attracted, some repelled. You can almost see them, tiny motes of being, winking into form like fireflies in a sunless forest. They cannot yet become atoms. It's far too hot for that. The universe is still a furnace of pure energy, dense and fierce. But the very idea of matter has arrived. Antimatter joins the dance. For every particle, a shadow, equal, opposite, faded. They find one another and vanish together, returning to light. But not perfectly, not quite. For reasons still unknown, a few more particles remain, and their antimatter mirrors. Just enough to tip the balance, just enough to build stars, planets, oceans, skin, and the thoughts you are thinking now. That tiny asymmetry, that quiet imbalance, is why you exist at all. You drift in awe through this blooming moment. The light is not focused. It is everywhere. It is the universe. And slowly, it cools. The expansion continues. Not rushing, but inevitable. The space between particles grows wider. The energy stretches thinner. The heat begins to fall. From unthinkably hot to merely unimaginable. And cooling means change. Some particles join together. 3 quarks meet and form protons. Others become neutrons. These are the building blocks of atoms, though atoms themselves are still far in the future. This new age is called the quark epoch, and then the hadron epoch, names whispered by physicists, but you don't need to remember them. You only need to feel what's happening. From pure energy, structure is being born. From chaotic fire, form is taking hold. You are floating gently through this great becoming. There is no sound. Sound needs air. But if you could hear it, it might feel like a hum, too deep for ears. A song sung by existence itself. And as the universe cools further still, even the humming slows. Light, once trapped by a sea of scattering particles, begins to slip free. This is called decoupling, the moment when photons no longer ricochet wildly, but travel straight and free across the widening space. This first light, this soft, ancient glow, still travels today. It is called the cosmic microwave background, and it surrounds you even now. A whisper from the first dawn, a message written in light nearly 14 billion years ago. You can imagine it as a blanket, still warm, still glowing, wrapped gently around the growing universe. No stars shine yet, but light is born. And in this light, possibility ripples outward. From 1,000,000,000 degrees to 1,000,000, from 1,000,000 to thousands. Each drop in temperature brings a new door opening. And now, just minutes into this new reality, something delicate begins to occur. Protons and neutrons, those early builders, begin to join. They fuse into nuclei, hydrogen, helium, trace amounts of lithium. This is called nucleosynthesis, the quiet birth of the elements. The same helium that fills balloons, the same hydrogen that fuels the sun. It all begins here. You float among these newborn pieces of everything, not yet atoms, not yet molecules, but close, closer than ever. You may feel a sense of anticipation, as if the cosmos is holding its breath again, but not like before. This time, it's a different kind of silence, Not the stillness before birth, but the hush of new life resting, gathering strength. In this era, the universe is glowing, vast, and hot, but slowly becoming gentle. A place where light can travel freely. A place where gravity can begin to restructure. It will take hundreds of millions of years before the first stars ignite, before the first galaxies swirl, before the night sky gains its sparkle. But tonight, you drift inside the very first light. Not starlight, not moonlight, but the original glow, soft and even, the breath of the cosmos exhaled at last. And as you float, the warmth fades ever so slightly. The expansion continues. The particles begin to slow. Darkness begins to settle in again, but this time, not empty. Now it is filled with the ingredients of becoming. Not silence, but a quiet waiting. And ahead, there is gravity. And with it, the first gentle pull, the first gathering, the first formations, the first stars. The universe now rests in a soft, glowing hush. Light, once trapped, drifts freely across the expanding dark. But the dark is not truly empty. It is thick with potential. Tonight, you'll drift through the quiet before the stars, where light begins to stretch its legs and gravity begins to whisper. The newborn light hums around you, not in blinding flashes, but in soft, even warmth, a glow that fills every corner, because there are no corners yet, only smooth, infinite expansion. This is not the light of stars. No galaxies have yet formed. No suns burn. And yet, light is here, finally free, wandering without collision, sailing across the fabric of space. For nearly 400,000 years, the universe had been too dense, too hot, too crowded. Photons, those tiny packets of light, could not travel far. They bounce, scatter, twist, and ricochet like voices in a crowded room. But now the room has grown vast. The crowd has thinned. Space has cooled just enough for electrons and nuclei to join hands, forming the first true atoms, mostly hydrogen, a little helium. Simple, yet stable. And with this union, the fog clears. Photons slip free. They begin to glide, not hurried, but endlessly persistent. This moment, the release of light, marks the beginning of the universe's transparency. Before it, everything was hidden in haze. Now, the cosmos opens its eyes. You float through that first gaze, through the soft afterglow of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background that still surrounds you, though your eyes can't see it unaided, and though the glow fades over billions of years, it never goes out. That gentle whisper of light continues across the vastness, a lullaby echoing from the very first dawn. But not all is quiet. Something deeper is stirring beneath the calm. Gravity has been patient. Silent through the heat and pressure, it has waited for this moment, for atoms to form, for light to step aside, for matter to begin its quiet drift. Now, gravity speaks, not loudly, not sharply, but with a slow, irresistible pull, a gathering. In the smooth spread of hydrogen and helium, there are wrinkles, those tiny fluctuations from long ago, minuscule differences in density, scattered like whispers across the sky. Gravity leans into them, pulls ever so gently. What is dense becomes denser. What is near comes nearer. This is the beginning of structure, the first slow motion of collapse. The universe is no longer just expanding. It's beginning to shape. And as you float, you sense this change like a tide, not a wave crashing in, but a gentle, deepening current. Pockets of gas drift closer. The soft light that once ruled the sky now weaves through fields of matter, casting long shadows where future stars will shine. And even though you cannot see them yet, dark threads begin to form. Scientists call this dark matter, a strange, unseen substance, invisible to light, yet shaping the cosmos like scaffolding. It neither shines nor scatters, but its gravity is strong, stronger than all the visible stars combined, and it helps gather the first clouds of gas, drawing them into filaments, into knots, into seeds of galaxies yet to bloom. You drift along one of these threads now, a silent, invisible road. Light flows gently around you, carried by expansion, curved by gravity, stretched into longer and longer wavelengths as the universe grows colder still. This era is often called the cosmic dark ages. For though light exists, there are no stars to shine, no galaxies to glow, no planets to reflect, only cool hydrogen gas sprawled across space like fog. And light, too stretched to be seen, passes softly through it all. But even in the dark, preparation is happening. Gravity is quietly sculpting. Pressure is quietly building. And deep within gathering clouds, temperature begins to rise again. Somewhere ahead, the very first star will be born. But we are not there yet. For now, you float through this serene stillness between light's freedom and the fire that is to come. Light's first steps are gentle. They are not fireworks. They are footsteps, each photon a messenger, telling the universe where it's been, where it's going. And some of these photons, they travel forever. From that first moment, they never stop. Some may pass through you now, invisible, harmless, but ancient beyond imagination. Isn't it beautiful to think that light from the beginning still brushes against your skin? That the first glow of the cosmos is not a story far away, but a presence all around you, always. You are not separate from this light. You are made of it. Every atom in your body once danced through this age, bathed in its warmth, nudged into place by gravity's patient hand. And so you drift, gently, quietly, as light makes its way through the sleeping universe. The dark ages continue, but they will not last forever. In the distance, a whisper rises. Somewhere, a cloud becomes dense enough to collapse. Its center heats, compresses, presses inward beyond resistance. And in that core, hidden still, waiting, a new kind of light is forming. Not the light of photons slipping free, but the burning light of fusion, the light of the very first star. And you, drifting in the soft ocean of ancient photons, are slowly being drawn toward it. Gravity gathers, light whispers, and in the quiet spaces between, matter begins to take shape. Hydrogen clouds collapse, heating from within. The universe's first engines begin to flicker. Tonight, you'll drift through the earliest structures, where threads of gas and dust weave the first stars, the first galaxies, the first homes. A cosmic tapestry begins, and you are part of its thread. You drift now in the quiet after light's release. A hush blankets everything. No stars yet twinkle. No planets yet turn. But the darkness is not empty. It is waiting. All around you, invisible fingers are at work. Gravity, the quiet artist, has begun its long creation. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply pulls. What was once scattered now begins to gather. Clouds of hydrogen and helium, delicate and cool, begin to fold in on themselves. These are not sudden collapses, but slow tightenings, like a breath drawn in, held for millions of years. The universe is weaving, not with thread or loom, but with pressure, patience, and time. Here in this silent loom, matter is drawn into filaments, thin, long strands of dark matter and gas. You float along one now, gliding between great rivers of potential. They stretch across the cosmos, linking nothing to everything, quietly forming the skeleton of the future. At the knots where filaments meet, gas begins to gather faster. Gravity deepens, pressure builds, and in these gathering places, dense, hidden clouds of hydrogen, the first stars prepare their birth. Inside each cloud, atoms begin to tumble inward. As they fall, they compress. And as they compress, they heat. It is the simplest recipe in the universe. A cloud, a pull, a spark. And yet, from this, all light will follow. You hover now beside one such cloud. It is invisible in ordinary light, for the light has not yet escaped. But you feel its presence, a slow churning, a rising tension. Within its center, the temperature reaches millions of degrees. Atoms begin to fuse. Hydrogen into helium, mass into energy, gravity into light. And just like that, a star is born. Not with a flash, but with a soft glow that intensifies slowly, a candle learning how to burn. This is a population 3-star, a name we give to the first of their kind. Massive, short-lived, born of pure hydrogen and helium. They burn hotter than anything that will come after. Their lives are brief, but brilliant. They shine into the darkness like sparks across a sleeping ocean. And where one star forms, others follow. Gravity doesn't make lone lights. It gathers clusters, hundreds, thousands, spinning around one another, like glowing beads in the dark. You drift through one such cradle. Young stars, fierce and blue-white, breathe ultraviolet light into the shadows. They begin to carve out space, blowing away the surrounding gas, shaping their nursery. This light begins to ionize the hydrogen around them, stripping electrons, changing the chemistry of the universe once again. A new age begins. The epic of reionization. These stars are sculptors, chiseling away at the fog, making the universe visible, one photon at a time. And with each generation, something changes. These stars are not only light, they are factories. Within their cores, new elements are forged. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron, the ingredients for oceans, for soil, for air, for blood. When these massive stars die, they do not fade quietly. They collapse, then explode. Supernovae so bright, they outshine entire galaxies for a brief moment. And in that explosion, they scatter their contents, dust and metals, new seeds of complexity. The cosmos grows richer with each breath, each death, each rebirth. You float through one of these clouds now, the remains of a first star. Ashes, yes, but fertile ashes. They swirl in spiral arms, carried by gravity, lit by starlight. And these clouds, heavier now, will someday form new stars. Smaller, more stable ones. Stars like our sun. And around those stars, dust will gather into disks. Those disks will spin. And from that spin, planets will rise. But not yet. That weaving is still to come. For now, the fabric stretches further. Galaxies begin to form. Enormous spinning collections of stars, gas, dust, and dark matter. Each galaxy, an island in an ever-expanding sea. You drift toward one such island now. It is young, clumpy, irregular, but already you can see its shape beginning. Spirals curling like gentle arms, clusters burning bright at its heart. You are watching the first structures take hold in the universe. A cosmic architecture, drawn by gravity, illuminated by fusion, woven from matter and mystery. And still, the light travels. Photons born in these early stars will journey for billions of years. Some to Earth, some to nowhere in particular, some to this moment with you. Your body, your skin, your thoughts. They are all made of this matter, born in these stars, woven by this gravity, bathed in this light. You are not a visitor here. You are a continuation. And as you float quietly through the forming galaxy, the stars around you pulse with newborn heat. The dust swirls. The darkness glows. And the weaving continues. Because in the next chapter of this story, this matter, dust, metal, gas, will begin to shape more than stars. It will form worlds. And one day, on one of those worlds, someone will look up at the night sky and wonder where it all began. From the hush of dark matter and drifting clouds, the first lights begin to flare. Born in silence, these ancient giants burn hot and bright, but not for long. Tonight, you'll drift through the lives of the universe's first stars, feel the pulse of fusion ignite, and witness the first starlight fall across the cosmic sea. A beginning within a beginning, the sky's first heartbeat. You float now through a universe that is no longer quiet, but not yet loud. The dark has not vanished, but something glows within it. A first breath, a flicker, a star. The time of waiting is over. The hydrogen clouds, cool and patient, have collapsed. They have listened to gravity's call, have warmed from within, have fallen inward upon themselves until they could fall no more. And in that final moment of inward pressure, something ancient and new began. Fusion. At the heart of the densest clouds, under crushing heat and tremendous force, protons fuse into helium. Mass becomes energy, and from that energy, light. Not the light of scattered photons, from a universe just becoming transparent. This is a different kind of light. Focused, brilliant, the light of a star being born. You watch the first of these ancient giants emerge. Their surfaces boil with intense heat. Their radiance spills outward into the dark, piercing the shadows that once held the universe in their hands. They are large, so large that they defy comparison. Dozens, even hundreds of times the mass of our sun. They burn with blinding blue-white light, and in their short lives, they change everything. These are the population 3 stars, the very first generation, forged from the untouched elements left behind by the Big Bang, hydrogen and helium alone, pure and simple. They are fierce, but their lifespans are fleeting. Just a few million years, a heartbeat in cosmic time. But what a heartbeat it is. These stars do not merely shine, they carve. Their ultraviolet light bathes the space around them, ripping electrons from atoms, ionizing the gas, once again, reversing the cooling calm that had let atoms settle. And with their light, they sculpt their surroundings. The gas around them heats and expands, pushed back by the force of starlight. You drift through one such region now, a bubble blown in the fog. Inside it, the star shines, a silent lighthouse, guiding photons across space. The darkness, once uniform, is now uneven. There are places of brightness. There are shadows. The universe is beginning to gain texture, contrast, rhythm, breath, and still more stars awaken. In clusters, in chains, in chaotic bursts. You pass through an early galaxy, if it can yet be called that, a tangle of gas, dust, and heat held loosely by dark matter's unseen hand. Within it, stars are forming and dying in rapid cycles. The first heavy elements are being born, not just hydrogen and helium, but carbon and oxygen, iron and nitrogen. These atoms are the raw materials of worlds, of oceans, of breath. They do not exist yet in planets or people, but they swirl now in the hearts of stars, waiting to be released. And then comes the end. You watch a giant collapse. Its core, depleted of fuel, gives way to gravity's final demand. In less than a second, the star's center implodes. What was once light becomes shadow. What was once stable becomes wild. And then, an explosion. Supernova. It blazes brighter than an entire galaxy. For just a moment, the energy released is incomprehensible, but it is not violent to you. To you, it is a bloom. Flower unfolding in darkness. A farewell. From this explosion, metals and dust are scattered into space. Elements, the star forged, are flung far and wide. Seeds for the next generation. Some of these stars will leave behind black holes, points of no return, where even light is lost. Others will leave behind neutron stars, tiny, dense cores, spinning through space like embers. You pass one such remnant, its magnetic field hums against you. You feel its story, a life that burned fast and gave everything in its death. And though the first stars die young, they are never forgotten. Their light continues to travel. Their materials continue to shape the future. The space around you is richer now. The stars that come next will not be made of pure hydrogen, but of stardust, the ash of ancient fire. These new stars will be smaller, more stable, capable of lasting billions of years, capable of forming planetary systems, capable, in time, of nurturing life. But we are not there yet. For now, the universe is still learning how to make stars. It tries again and again, with gas and heat, with pressure and chance. And the stars continue to blink open, like eyes, like thoughts, like promises. They do not form all at once. They do not form in every direction. But slowly, deliberately, the sky begins to fill. You turn in every direction now, and see points of light, newborn stars at every distance. Their glow slowly weaving a new kind of night, a luminous night. One that will, eventually, give rise to galaxies with spiral arms, to stable suns, to solar systems. One that will, long after this chapter ends, shine above oceans, above forests, above dreamers. But it begins here, in this darkness, in this flicker, and you, drifting quietly between the stars, carry with you the memory of their first light. You are made of it. You are shaped by it. And one day, far ahead, you will wake beneath it. But first, a whisper grows beneath the starlight, a swirling of cool dust heavy with metals, drawn into disks by rotation and gravity. From these swirling patterns, the next miracle will rise. Not stars, not yet life, but the homes of life. Inside the burning hearts of stars, matter is transformed, not by magic, but by fusion. Hydrogen becomes helium, and helium becomes heavier things. Carbon, oxygen, iron. Tonight, you drift into stellar cores, where elements are born, where the very fabric of your body was once forged in fire. This is starlight turned into substance, the quiet alchemy of existence. You drift now closer to the heart of things, not the heart of galaxies or of space, but the pulsing, glowing hearts of stars themselves. These are not peaceful places. They are furnaces, roaring with a silence so deep it hums in your bones. And yet, you are not afraid. You float effortlessly into the center of one such star, where pressure wraps around you like 1,000 invisible arms. In this core, Under temperatures of millions of degrees, the simplest atoms dance a dangerous ballet. Here, fusion reigns. Hydrogen atoms, the lightest and most ancient, collide with such force that their boundaries blur. Protons press into one another, electrons vanish into the fire, and what emerges is something new. Helium. This is the star's first alchemy, the transformation of lightness into warmth, of matter into energy. Each fusion releases a photon, a packet of light, which slowly climbs its way out of the star's dense body. Some will take thousands of years to escape the maze of atoms, bouncing and scattering endlessly before they finally leap into open space. That light, when it reaches some distant world, may warm a sea, or feed a leaf, or enter the eye of a sleeping child, dreaming beneath the stars. But that is still far ahead. For now, you remain inside the engine. And this engine is not finished. When the hydrogen runs low, the star does not die immediately. It changes. It adapts. The core contracts, growing hotter and denser. And suddenly, helium begins to fuse. 2 helium atoms become beryllium, and then carbon, and oxygen, and so on. Each new stage of fusion builds heavier elements up and up the periodic table, from light to weight, from simplicity to complexity. You watch it happen, like a tree of fire blooming upward. Carbon, oxygen, neon, magnesium, silicon, until finally the star begins to make iron. And here the magic halts, for iron is the gate, a quiet, heavy threshold in the life of a star. It takes more energy to fuse iron than it gives back, and so the balance ends. The fire can no longer sustain the star's weight. Its outward pressure fades. Gravity takes over. The core collapses so fast, so violently, that even light cannot respond. The outer layers fall inward, then rebound in a titanic shockwave. A supernova is born. You are flung outward in the blast, carried with atoms of gold, silver, uranium, and all the elements beyond iron, those rarest ingredients that only the death of a massive star can create. This is the true alchemy, a single star turning heat and time into the raw materials of life. You drift through a cloud formed from this explosion, a nebula, rich and beautiful, its gases tinted red and blue by the elements within. This cloud will someday birth new stars, but these stars will be different. They are born not just from hydrogen and helium, but from stardust, carbon for the bones, oxygen for breath, iron for the blood. You are watching the universe learn how to recycle, how to build upon itself, how to grow more capable of building complex things. And in this new generation of stars, something else begins to happen. Disks of matter form around them, swirls of gas and rock, circling slowly, cooling gently. Particles within these disks begin to cling to one another, coalescing, growing into planetesimals, small, rocky bodies that will one day become planets. But the stars themselves remain at the center, turning matter into light and light into warmth. Their cores, still active with fusion, now produce the very materials that will shape life's future chemistry. You float into one of these younger stars, a smaller, calmer body than the giants that came before. Its fusion is stable. Its life will span billions of years. And within it, carbon continues to rise, alongside nitrogen and oxygen. You think of trees, of clouds, of hearts. You are beginning to see the ingredients that will one day become all these things. The star does not know it, but it is shaping you. In the glow of its burning core, the possibility of life is quietly gathering outside. Its solar winds push charged particles outward, shaping a system, drawing a line between the inner rocky worlds and the outer gas giants. This star, like many others, is not just a light in the sky, it is an origin, a furnace that takes the raw elements of the Big Bang and folds them into the complexity that life requires. Every breath you will ever take, every thought that will ever pass through your mind, every cell, every poem, every tear is made from the remnants of such stars. You carry the memory of fusion in your marrow, the hum of stellar fire in your heartbeat. You are not simply observing alchemy, you are its result. And the process continues. New stars are forming, old ones are dying. And with each generation, the periodic table fills in like a painting slowly colored by time. In one corner of one galaxy, a small yellow star is beginning to burn. Around it, a disk of dust is flattening. Pebbles are clumping into rocks, rocks into protoplanets. Something extraordinary is about to begin there. You drift toward that forming system, drawn not just by gravity, but by a quiet sense of recognition. This star is still nameless. Its planets are not yet born. But one day, one of those planets will hold oceans, skies, songs, and a creature who will look up at the night and wonder, where did I come from? Not all stars vanish in brilliance. Some fade gently, folding into silence. Tonight, you'll wander through the last breaths of stellar giants, watching them swell into red embers, shed their layers, and dissolve into memory. From white dwarfs to black holes, you'll follow the final rhythms of a star's life. There is a stillness in their ending, and in that stillness, a gift. You drift through a galaxy grown older, its arms coiling in slow spirals, its light dimmer now than when first formed. But in this matured cosmos, the stories of stars are entering their final verses. Not every death is an explosion. Some are gentle retreats. Some stars do not rage. They whisper their farewells. Tonight, you follow those whispers. You float beside a star that once burned steady, like the quiet heart of a home. It is now a red giant, its hydrogen spent, its core shrinking under gravity's pull as its outer layers swell and cool. It has expanded 100 times its former size, its surface glowing with soft crimson, no longer fierce, but regal. The light here is warm, tired, like an old candle burning at its edges. Inside, helium fuses slowly into carbon and oxygen. But this star is too small to carry on much further. Its mass, though mighty once, is not enough to press onward into heavier elements. So it does something softer. It lets go. The star begins to shed itself, layer by layer, each one a translucent veil blown outward into space by stellar winds. You watch the atmosphere drift away, unraveling like silk in slow motion. Colors bloom in the gas. Green, pink, violet. A ring of light spreads from the star, like ripples on a pond. This is a planetary nebula, a ghost of what the star once was, beautiful and brief. And at the center, the final ember, a white dwarf. It no longer fuses elements. It does not grow, nor shrink. It simply cools, glowing softly with stored heat. It may shine for billions of years before fading into darkness. It is dense. A teaspoon of it would weigh as much as a mountain, but peaceful. A reminder that endings need not be violent to be complete. You pause here, floating near this silent core. It pulses not with power, but with memory. It holds within it all the light it ever gave, all the fusion it once sustained. Its gravity is a hush, not a hunger. But this is only one kind of death. Elsewhere, giants of greater mass approach their end, not with a sigh, but with a thunderclap. You move toward one now, a massive star that has lived fast and burned hot. It has forged its way through the elements, building heavier and heavier cores. Carbon, oxygen, neon, silicon, until it reaches iron. Here, fusion falters. Iron takes more energy to fuse than it returns. The star cannot sustain the balance. Outward pressure ceases. Gravity wins. The collapse is sudden. The core falls inward. Protons and electrons crush together into neutrons. The outer layers follow. A rush of matter. A scream of forces. And then, the shockwave. Core collapse supernova. You are flung outward, carried by light brighter than a galaxy, by elements blasted into space. Gold, cobalt, nickel, uranium, gifts that can only be born in death. In a moment, the giant has ended, but it has seeded the future. What remains depends on mass. Sometimes a dense, city-sized neutron star is left behind, spinning rapidly, emitting beams of radiation in a perfect rhythm, a pulsar ticking across the void. Other times, the collapse is complete. A black hole forms, a point of infinite density, a place where space and time curve into mystery. You hover now near a black hole's edge, the event horizon. Beyond it, light cannot return, not because it is swallowed, but because space itself has bent inward. You cannot see inside. No one can. And yet, its presence is felt. It tugs on nearby stars, warps light that passes close, shapes galaxies without ever revealing its own shape. Black holes are not monsters. They are memories, the final footprints of lives once lit by fusion. You drift onward, carried by the silence of aftermath. Here and there, you see white dwarfs cooling in open space, neutron stars spinning, nebulae expanding, their colors fading into interstellar dusk. Each is a page turned in the story of the cosmos. These remnants are not lost. They form the dust and gas from which new stars will rise. You pass through one such cloud now, a diffuse cradle of future things. Inside it, swirl atoms forged in stellar hearts, hurled into space by death, now drifting, colliding, coalescing. This is the universe's way. To end, to spread, to begin again. And you, floating through this cycle, carry the knowledge of it all. The oxygen in your breath was once in the lungs of a star. The iron in your blood pulsed once at the center of a giant. The calcium in your bones was flung from a supernova's fire. Every part of you is recycled starlight. You are not an observer. You are the continuation. The cosmos is not out there. It is within you, and you are within it. Even death, in this grand story, is not destruction. It is transformation. And now, as your journey continues, you begin to feel a new kind of stirring. Beyond the gases and remnants, beyond the collapsed cores and glowing nebulae, new things are forming. You move toward a small star, young, yellow. Around it, a disk spins. Dust gathers. Rocks form. Planets begin to take shape. One of them is small, blue, just the right distance from its star. It has oceans. It has clouds. It is waiting. And there, in its future, a species will one day gaze upward and wonder where it came from. It will not know that the answer lies in the death of giants. Gravity does not shout. It whispers. It bends space and holds time, weaving orbits and guiding the rise of stars and worlds. Tonight, You listen closely to its gentle tug as galaxies spiral, moons dance, and tides breathe in rhythm with the cosmos. This is the quiet sculptor of the universe, always present, always patient. You are drifting now through the quiet spaces between stars. There is no sound, but something guides you. A pull, soft and sure, unbroken and invisible. It is not a hand, not a rope, not a chain. It is gravity, and it whispers, not with noise, but with presence. It never sleeps. It never rushes. It is the slow, unseen sculptor of everything that has ever existed. From the first breath of the universe, gravity was there. Not loud, but insistent. While light scattered and matter cooled, gravity began to gather, to beckon, to shape. You feel its rhythm now, not like a beat, but like a breath beneath everything. It curves space around stars, curves time around mass. It pulls gently on galaxies, threads them into clusters, guides them into swirls. You begin your descent toward a spiral galaxy. Its arms stretch like celestial tendrils, vast rivers of starlight, curling around a glowing heart. You do not fly straight. You arc, swept along a path laid not by walls, but by warps in space. Gravity is not just a force. It is a bending, a folding, a shaping of the very space you drift through. You float through this galactic spiral, each star held in place by motion and trust. They orbit the center not by tether, but by balance, between their desire to flee outward and the curve that keeps pulling them inward. This balance, this quiet compromise between inertia and attraction, is everywhere. You pass twin stars locked in an orbital waltz, each circling the other, their dance choreographed not by chance, but by the gravity between them. You glide past moons that kiss the edges of gas giants, held steady in elliptical embraces, always falling, always missing, and so always circling. You float between Saturn's rings, each particle tracing its own perfect loop, never crashing, just listening to the rules gravity writes. You pause near a blue and white world. From here, it turns slowly, its oceans breathing in and out with the moon's pull. Tides rise and fall like the lungs of the sea, and every mountain holds tight to its base, rooted by the quiet hum of gravity. You feel your own body respond, even in this imagined drifting. Even in dreams, you are never weightless. You are always cradled by gravity's arms. This is the force that keeps your feet on the ground and your planet in orbit. It is why time runs a little slower in valleys, a little faster on mountaintops. It curves not just the path of light, but the flow of seconds. You follow a beam of starlight as it passes near a heavy planet. The beam bends slightly, just a hair, curving around the mass, not deflected like a ball, but guided like a river, flowing around a stone. This bending is not chaos. It is elegance, a quiet agreement between matter and space. And gravity, unseen and unvoiced, is what allows stars to shine. Without it, clouds of gas would drift forever, never collapsing, never igniting. It is gravity that draws them inward, pressing atoms close until fusion begins, until light is born. Every star you've ever seen owes its fire to gravity's patience. Every planet ever formed began with dust spiraling inward, sticking together, coalescing into something new, because gravity kept insisting that nothing should remain alone. You drift now through the quiet halo of a galaxy cluster, a place where galaxies are not solitary islands, but companions in a cosmic ballet. They orbit one another over billions of years, drawn together, warping each other's shapes, stretching filaments of stars between them. Collisions happen, But even those are not abrupt. Two galaxies may take hundreds of millions of years to merge completely, and the stars within them barely notice. Gravity choreographs it all, delicate, deliberate, more patient than time itself. You return again to the center of a galaxy where something darker waits, a supermassive black hole, not a devourer, but a keeper of balance. Its mass curves space so deeply that even light cannot escape once it enters. But outside that threshold, its presence shapes the orbits of stars, defines the structure of the core, and whispers the rules by which all motion flows. Black holes are not where gravity ends. They are where it is felt most deeply. Even they do not break the rules. They are the rules, folded inward. You hover just beyond the event horizon, where space and time curve so tightly that seconds stretch like rubber, and direction becomes uncertain. Then you pull away, not in fear, but in awe, because even here, gravity holds its silence. Back near Earth, you begin to see a new kind of gravity, the kind that doesn't just hold planets in place, but gives rise to something more. It holds an atmosphere against the surface. It allows rain to fall. It pulls rivers downhill. It presses air into lungs. Without it, there could be no life, not even a single breath. Your heart beats because gravity pulls blood downward, and your vessels rise to meet it. You sleep because you know the ground is waiting. Even your dreams rest on gravity's floor. And now, as the young Earth cools and spins, gravity continues its slow labor. It presses molten core into a swirling dynamo, building magnetic fields that will one day protect life. It pulls water into valleys, carves basins for oceans, gathers gases into a sky. And somewhere in that sky, billions of years from now, a creature will stand, look up, and wonder what keeps the moon from falling. It will write equations, build telescopes, launch spacecraft. It will come to understand the laws. But even then, it will still feel the mystery, because gravity is not only science, it is story. The universe's first lullaby, always there, always pulling, always guiding. Galaxies do not float aimlessly. They move in vast, elegant patterns, pulled by gravity, shaped by time. They sway, collide, and merge in slow celestial dances. Tonight, you'll drift among spirals and ellipticals, watching star systems swirl like snowflakes caught in cosmic winds. This is a waltz that spans eons, choreographed by silence. You float now beyond the boundaries of a single star, beyond the reach of one sun, one system. You are no longer watching stars, but entire cities of stars, galaxies, each one a universe unto itself. Out here, the darkness is deeper, the distances are greater, but the motion, oh, the motion is everywhere. Galaxies do not sit still, they dance. And you are drifting among them, carried by gravity's music, a slow, ancient waltz, so vast it takes billions of years for one step to complete. You turn gently toward a spiral galaxy, its arms swirling outward like ribbons of paint in water. Stars shine along the spiral arms, clustered like beads of light, each one circling a central bulge where the oldest stars reside. You glide between the arms, among lanes of dust and gas, where new stars are born. These arms are not solid structures. They are waves of density, patterns in motion, like traffic on a slow-moving highway, where stars bunch and stretch, then bunch again. The stars you see are bound in orbits, swept into these curves, not by a hand, but by gravity's arrangement. Each galaxy has its own rhythm. You drift now toward an elliptical galaxy, an older, more settled shape. It is round, like a glowing cloud, its stars no longer forming in large numbers, but still spinning in quiet harmony. Ellipticals are the remnants of collisions, the product of two spiral galaxies that have danced too closely, merged over time, and become one. You pause at the edge of a collision. Two spiral galaxies are meeting, slowly entwining. Their arms stretch toward each other like lovers reaching across space. Stars are flung outward into long tidal tails, ribbons of starlight that curve and arc under gravity's influence. This collision will take hundreds of millions of years, but to you, it moves in a slow ballet. The stars themselves rarely touch. There is so much space between them that they mostly pass by unscathed. But the clouds of gas, they feel it. They crash. They compress. And in that compression, stars are born. A galactic kiss becomes a cradle of light. You hover inside this moment, watching new stars flare into being as two galaxies embrace. This is not destruction. It is transformation. You turn now toward something stranger, a lenticular galaxy, halfway between spiral and elliptical. Its arms have faded, its star formation slowed, but it still spins, still carries the memory of what it once was. And in the farthest reaches, you find irregular galaxies, twisted, asymmetrical, like clouds caught in a gust. These are galaxies torn by past encounters, their shapes disrupted, their stars scattered. Yet even in their chaos, they hold stars, they hold stories. Every galaxy moves through space, not just within itself, but among others. They gather in groups, in clusters, and superclusters, drawn together by dark matter's invisible hand. You pass through one such galaxy cluster, a dense congregation of light and gravity. Galaxies of every shape swarm here, bound by the mass between them. Some are falling toward the center. Some are orbiting each other in vast elliptical loops. And in between them, a glow. The space between galaxies isn't empty. It holds hot gas, millions of degrees, spread thinly, but broadly, heated by gravity itself, as galaxies tug and compress the space between them. You feel the motion, the momentum, the mutual pull. This is not chaos. It is choreography, and it goes deeper still. You step back farther. Clusters become dots. Superclusters stretch like threads. You see a web, a cosmic web of matter and emptiness, filaments and voids. This is the architecture of the universe. Galaxies align along the strands, connected across unimaginable distances. Between the threads are vast voids, cosmic oceans of quiet. And yet, motion continues even here. Galaxies fall toward one another, sliding along filaments, as if along invisible rails. Everything moves. Everything sways. Everything feels gravity's hand. And now, you drift closer to something familiar. Your own galaxy, the Milky Way, spins gently through space, its spiral arms alive with stars and dust. Its center quiet, but powerful. Far away, the Andromeda galaxy approaches. She is blue, bright, beautiful. And though she is millions of light years distant, she is coming closer. The Milky Way and Andromeda are bound to collide. Not today, not tomorrow, but in 4 billion years. A slow embrace, already in motion. They will pass through each other, twist, merge, and settle. Their dance has already begun, and you are floating at the edge of its first note. You think now about time, how galaxies move so slowly, yet never stop, how their dance is measured in billions of years, yet each step is meaningful. And you think about Earth, so small, spinning within one arm of one galaxy, in a universe of dancers. How fragile it is, how precious. And yet, it too moves, spins, dances. Everything dances. From atoms to galaxies, motion is the language of the cosmos. Not random, but patterned. Not still, but serene. Earth is still a newborn, warm, restless, and clouded in steam. But deep beneath its surface, and high above its skies, the quiet ingredients for life begin to stir. Tonight, you drift through mist and magma, listening to oceans form, air thicken, and chemistry dream. A pale blue begins to shimmer, not with certainty, but with possibility. You return to a world in its infancy. Earth, young, unsettled, unfinished. It spins beneath a heavy veil of ash and vapor, its skies thick with the breath of volcanoes, its surface churning with molten rock and early oceans. This is not yet the gentle blue world you know. It is hot, chaotic, pulsing with raw energy. But within that chaos, a quiet rhythm begins, a whisper that will, in time, become life. You float just above the planet, where the air is dense and clouded. The sky glows with a dull, golden haze, a mixture of water vapor, methane, ammonia, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. There is no oxygen yet, no blue, no wind through trees, no sound but the groaning of the crust. And yet, beneath this stormy veil, the story of life begins its long, slow unfolding. You drift downward through heavy clouds and falling rain. This rain is relentless, sheets of water hissing on volcanic stone, evaporating and returning again. For millions of years, the rain does not stop. It carves the rock, cools the crust, and fills the deepest basins. Oceans gather, dark and steaming, primordial seas rich with minerals and mystery. Now Earth wears its first veil of blue. You hover above one such sea, warm and swirling beneath the sky. Lightning crackles in the distance. The waves churn gently. Here, where land meets water, the chemistry of life begins its quiet rehearsal. Simple molecules, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, meet and mingle in tidal pools, in underwater vents, in droplets carried by wind. They twist, bond, break, and form again. Not with intention, not with purpose, but with persistence. Some become more stable than others. Some begin to replicate. Some fold into intricate shapes. Chains of amino acids, the earliest whispers of proteins. You float through this molecular ballet. No eye see it. No mind records it. But still, it happens. Over and over. Chance becoming pattern. Pattern becoming possibility. Deep beneath the waves, vents belch heat and minerals. The sea is alive with motion, even without life. And near these vents, in the warm, mineral-rich dark, the first primitive membranes form. Tiny bubbles, encasing, protecting, separating. Inside them, chemical reactions continue, encouraged by their isolation. Some of these bubbles survive. Some grow. Some even divide. These are not yet cells, but they are close. Close enough that, in time, the line between chemistry and biology will blur. This is the moment where everything begins to change. Not in an explosion, not in a spark, but in a slow, invisible shimmer at the edge of matter's imagination. You rise again, carried upward by currents. The ocean above is still dark, but sunlight pierces the upper layers. Here, light and matter begin to interact in new and subtle ways. Early molecules learn to use this light to store energy, to drive reactions. Photosynthesis is not yet widespread, but its roots are forming. And with it, a revolution stirs. Some primitive organisms begin releasing oxygen. At first, it reacts with iron, rusting the sea and stone. But eventually, the iron is saturated. The oxygen remains. It rises into the sky. It accumulates. And one day, the atmosphere begins to change. You feel it first as a thinning of the haze, then a faint shift in color, the touch of blue. The great oxygenation event is not a flash, but a breath stretched over eons. And yet, it is one of Earth's great turning points. For with oxygen, new possibilities emerge, new metabolisms, new paths to complexity. The sky, once gold and gray, turns cerulean. The seas reflect it. Clouds form and drift. The Earth becomes pale blue, a planet that now breathes. But still, there are no trees, no birds, no footsteps. The land is barren, shaped only by wind, washed only by tide. But beneath the surface, life is working quietly. Microbial mats spread across the seafloor, photosynthesizing, exhaling, living. These communities trade nutrients. They evolve. Some even form colonies, paving the way for cooperation, a step that will one day lead to complexity. You drift through one of these early microbial worlds. You feel their warmth, their business, their quiet endurance. Each one is tiny, insignificant on its own, but together they change the planet. They lay the foundation for every forest, every heartbeat, every thought. You pause, suspended above this early Earth. So much has happened, and yet it is only the beginning. The continents drift slowly. The moon pulls the tides. The Earth spins, and time flows. Everything that follows will emerge from these early waters. The first cells, the first nuclei, the first nervous systems, the first breath taken above water. But for now, all is still unfolding. The planet sleeps, even as it dreams. And you, watching from above, can feel the hush of possibility, a fragile, wondrous silence, filled with promise. You think of the stars, of the galaxies beyond, still spinning in their graceful patterns. And here, in a single drop of ocean, a new kind of motion begins. Not gravity, but life. What are the chances? What gentle balances held this together? What stabilities allowed this whisper of becoming to endure? You cannot answer, but you can feel it. The weightless hush of a world, almost ready to awaken. From chemistry's quiet drift, a rhythm begins. The very first living memory. A single cell divides not just matter, but time itself into moments, cycles, echoes. In its tiny frame, the universe records. It remembers. And in this remembering, life begins to truly endure. You float in the ancient sea, where warmth still clings to the water like breath. Above you, the sky is no longer thick with ash. It holds a softer light now, filtered through time and oxygen. And beneath, in this vast cradle of minerals and motion, something fragile, something magnificent has begun. Not loud, not sudden, but steady, enduring, a rhythm, pulse. One cell becomes two, two become four. Life, once a solitary whisper, is now a gentle drumbeat against the vast silence. You drift closer, watching. The membranes are so delicate, like soap bubbles drifting in tide pools, and yet within them is a miracle. Information, code, instructions written in the strange alphabet of base pairs. A, T, C, and G, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. coiled within the cell like a storybook made of molecules. This is DNA, not merely a molecule, but a memory, a system that can replicate itself, that can change, that can carry identity through time. You float inside the cell now, through its watery interior. Tiny machines, built from proteins, move with purpose. They fold, bind, unzip, connect. They copy sequences, check for errors, build structures. Each one knows only its task. Yet together, they keep the cell alive. They keep the pulse beating. There is no consciousness here, no awareness. But there is direction, there is motion, and above all, there is repetition. Life is learning to remember. And so time, for the first time, becomes personal. You watch the cell divide. Its membrane pinches inward. Its contents split, not haphazardly, but with care. Half the code goes one way, half the other. The past is carried forward, not in perfect form, but in spirit. You rise, and in every corner of the ocean, you see the same miracle playing out. Countless cells, each dividing, each drifting, each changing ever so slightly. Not all survive. Most vanish, lost to chance, to error, to pressure, or heat. But some persist. They adapt. They refine. And in that refinement, the story deepens. You watch as two cells come together, drawn by chance or by chemical attraction. They merge, share parts of themselves, swap strands of genetic code. And now, something strange happens. Variation. This blending opens doors. New proteins form. New responses emerge. Some of these combinations allow the cell to grow faster, or move more efficiently, or survive where others cannot. The slow wheel of evolution has begun to turn. You pause to observe one such turning. In the darkness near a hydrothermal vent, a single-celled organism has developed a tiny tail, a flagellum, which flicks and spins, propelling it through the water. This is motion, not from currents, but from within. The cell can now choose direction, move toward warmth or light or nutrients. With motion comes agency. With agency, possibility. You float through the layers of time. Life continues to learn, not by thought, but by survival. Each generation adds small edits to the script. Genes are lost. Genes are gained. Sometimes, whole stretches are duplicated, and the copies evolve into new tools. The cell begins to sense, to respond, to organize its internal systems. Eventually, the DNA folds into compartments. A membrane forms around it, a nucleus. This is a eukaryotic cell, more stable, more structured, more creative. It is not alone. Others like it gather, form clusters, begin to specialize. Some produce energy, some store information, some simply hold the group together. Multicellularity begins not with a leap, but with a quiet agreement. Let us work together. You watch one of these ancient colonies, a soft, gelatinous gathering of cells clinging to a rock shelf, washed by the tides. It isn't yet an organism, but it is more than a gathering. Some cells anchor, others draw in nutrients. A few, near the surface, catch sunlight and convert it to energy. The first hints of division of labor, the blueprint for every future creature. And in the water all around them, the pulse continues. Generation after generation, cells divide, die, adapt, evolve. Life has become a process, a song passed from moment to moment, sometimes breaking, sometimes harmonizing. You notice something else now. Deep within the genome, some sequences are no longer functional. They are fragments, echoes, but they are not erased. The cell carries even what it no longer needs, a fossil of code, a trail of ancestors written into every strand of life. Life, then, is not just memory, it is layered memory, a record of everything that has been tried, held in the body of what now exists. You drift forward again, passing through billions of years, watching this record stretch and deepen. Eventually, one cell type begins to shape the future, the cyanobacteria. These small architects learn to turn sunlight into food, spitting out oxygen as waste. And that oxygen begins to change the world. The sky brightens. The oceans begin to clear. Iron in the water rusts and settles. And eventually, a new kind of breath becomes possible. You look down again, and now you see small mats of living cells carpeting the seafloor. They pulse as one, anchored in place, feeding on light. The atmosphere, once hostile, now holds promise. The earth begins to feel familiar. Still no animals, still no plants. But the stage is almost set, because one day soon, these cells will build something new. Bodies, tissues, nerves, senses. Life will begin to see, to touch, to remember not just through DNA, but through emotion, instinct, and story. But for now, you rest here, in this ancient sea, with the first cell that copied itself and knew, without knowing, how to last. This is the true beginning of lineage, of survival, of history. Time, once just a passage, is now a heartbeat, a rhythm carried in every breath of life. And you are floating in its very first note. Inside every living cell lies a story, not spoken, but folded, twisted, and passed along. A molecular memory, recording life's quiet persistence. DNA becomes the keeper of what worked, what didn't, and what might. This is not memory, as a mind holds it, but a deeper one. Life remembering how to be alive. You are drifting again, not through space, not through stars, but into the depths of something smaller, quieter. Molecule. And not just any molecule, but the one that carries the memory of life. DNA. It is here, in this gentle double helix, that the universe began to write itself down. Not in ink, but in chemical bonds. Not in words, but in base pairs that fit together like soft puzzle pieces. A pairs with T, C pairs with G. Again and again, like threads in a tightly woven rope, forming ladders of instruction, spirals of possibility. You move along one such spiral now. It stretches through the interior of a single cell, coiled tightly within the protective hush of a nucleus. Here, everything needed to build, to grow, to respond, it all sleeps, folded within the curves. You glide along it slowly, and as you do, you begin to see what makes this memory so extraordinary. It is not just storage. It is not just a record. It is alive. Each gene is a sentence. Each section, a chapter. Some are read often, others rarely. Some are marked for silencing, tied up with proteins like bookmarks, never to be opened. But others are transcribed, unzipped, copied, translated, their meaning turned into action. A gene for a protein for a function for a response. It is as if the cell is reading itself into being. You watch a strand begin to open, an enzyme gliding along the ribbon. Unzipping base pairs like a zipper of light. Another molecule comes in, RNA polymerase, copying the sequence into a new form. Messenger RNA. This mRNA floats through the cell, guiding the construction of proteins. Each one, a folded marvel. Each one with a purpose. To cut, to carry, to build, to defend. The cell becomes a theater of memory, where molecular actors follow a script older than the moon. But what makes this memory different is that it can change. You pass now through time, moving gently from one organism to the next. The same core alphabet, A, T, C, G, is used in jellyfish and in birds, in trees and in people. Yet the sequences shift. They evolve. Mistakes, mutations, slip into the code. Some harmful, some silent, some beneficial. These errors become experiments, and some experiments become adaptations. Evolution is memory with edits, a living archive where every creature is a revision of what came before. You now rest near a mitochondrion, an ancient guest within the cell. It has its own DNA, a relic of the time it was a free living bacterium, long before it became a permanent resident in complex cells. Its presence is a memory too, a memory of cooperation, a fusion of two once separate lives becoming one. You float deeper, and now you see how DNA is passed on. The cell divides, and the double helix unwinds, each strand serving as a template for a new one. This is replication. It is not perfect, but it is astonishingly faithful. It is how a fern becomes another fern, how a fox carries the glimmer of its ancestor's eye, how you are both entirely new and deeply, profoundly familiar. The molecule is more than storage. It is a blueprint, yes, but also a bridge, a way for life to reach across time and tell itself how to continue. Even the genes that are not used, that lie dormant, silent, forgotten, carry echoes of what once mattered. A memory of gills in your embryonic neck, a tailbone that once held a tail, a genetic signature that rhymes with worms and flowers and whales. DNA remembers everything, even the stories no longer told. You follow the trail now into the early multicellular world. Here, DNA begins to direct not just cells, but tissues, structures. One gene controls limb length, another, eye shape, another, the rhythm of a heartbeat. And yet all of it, is made from the same raw material. You pause in awe. The difference between a pine tree and a lion is not in the letters, but in how and when the sentences are read. This is called gene regulation, a molecular choreography. You float through it like a conductor moving through a score. Signals activate one gene, repress another. The symphony begins to play, from molecule to motion, from code to creature. And through all this, DNA continues to remember. But even DNA forgets. Or perhaps, let's go. Sections that were once useful may be lost. Genes once vital may be silenced. Entire chromosomes may duplicate, merge, shatter, and rearrange. And yet, life goes on. Adaptation is not just remembering. It is choosing which memories to keep. You come now to a single human cell, and even here, in the body you know so well, the DNA within you holds memories from the dawn. You share genes with lizards, with yeast, with corn, because all of you, all of us, descended from the same original memory, a memory stored not in language, but in molecules. And this memory does not fade. It lives in the pulse of every cell, the breath of every living thing, the dance of proteins folded just right to keep you alive. You are not separate from this memory. You are it. Your body is a poem written by the ocean, revised by sunlight, and preserved in spirals of molecular song. And now, you drift upward again, past the cells and tissues and systems, back into the vastness. The sea is still below. The sky still breathes. But something in you feels deeper now. You carry a memory you didn't know you had, not just from your parents or theirs, but from single-celled ancestors who floated in silence and chose to divide. From tiny sparks of copying, binding, building, You were written into time. And though your mind forgets many things, your molecules do not. They remember how to grow, how to heal, how to continue. They remember you, and tomorrow they will remember more. From stardust and memory, eyes begin to open, not merely to light, but to wonder. You awaken not just to the world, but to its patterns, to time itself. In this chapter, the cosmos begins to look back through you. The stars have always watched. But tonight, for the first time in this slow-moving tale, you are watching them back. You, not as a cell, not as a cluster of tissue, but as a gaze. The world filters in through soft, moist eyes, formed from countless generations of molecule, instinct, and shape. And in that gaze, the universe begins to reflect upon itself. You lie beneath a dark sky, wrapped in the hush of wind and starlight. And above you, scattered and ancient, are the same stars your ancestors watched from the mouths of caves, from the decks of slow-moving ships, from silent fields heavy with dew. But tonight, the stars are not just lights. They are time. Each one sends its light across the void, traveling millions, sometimes billions of years, to reach your open eyes. You are not seeing them as they are, but as they were. Starlight is memory, and your gaze becomes a bridge across the ages. The photons that touch your retina tonight left their source before there were humans, before there were birds, before there were flowers. Some before the earth had even cooled. And yet, here they are, landing softly, quiet as a breath, a billion-year-old whisper tapping gently at your mind. You blink, and in that blink, time folds. Your eyes are more than lenses. They are instruments evolved to track motion, to notice change. This sensitivity is ancient. A predator must notice a ripple in the grass. A mother must see a flicker of expression in her child's face. From the beginning, your perception was shaped by the need to respond to time. You don't just see the world. You sense its rhythm. You know when a moment feels stretched. You know when a second feels fast. You know the difference between the stillness of waiting and the stillness of peace. Time is not just something you measure. It is something you feel. And this feeling, this deeply human awareness, changes everything. You sit beside a small fire. Its light dances in your eyes. Your gaze shifts between flames and stars. And somewhere inside you, a question forms. What is this? Why does the sun rise? Why do leaves fall? What came before? From your gaze emerges curiosity, and curiosity gives rise to time's most attentive student, the human mind. You watch as one of your ancestors marks the passing of days, not in machines, but with stones, lines carved into bone, patterns etched into cave walls, the first calendars, the first attempts to capture time, to pin it down like a shadow on the wall. Later, others track the moon, the stars, the floods of the River Nile. They build monuments that align with solstices. They build temples to hold light on just one day each year. Time becomes sacred, measured, honored, and still, your gaze evolves. It sharpens. It questions. It dissects. You now sit beneath a different sky, holding a telescope. You're no longer just watching stars. You are measuring their motion, calculating their age, decoding their chemical composition. You've learned that their light stretches as the universe expands, a redshift that tells you the cosmos is not static, but growing. Your gaze, once a simple mirror, is now an instrument of discovery. You've discovered galaxies, quasars, neutron stars. You've looked so far that you've seen the glow of the Big Bang itself, the cosmic microwave background, a soft light bathing the universe in a memory of its own birth. This, too, reaches your eyes, and you understand it. You, a being of blood and warmth and breath, can now see the fingerprints of time on the very fabric of space. But the gaze does not only look outward, it also turns inward. You watch your own heartbeat. You measure your sleep cycles. You feel the weight of memory. Time, in the human mind, becomes emotion. A single moment of childhood can stretch across a lifetime. A year can vanish in the blink of grief. The future can fill you with hope, or fear, or longing. You do not just track time, you narrate it. You write it into poems, into lullabies, into the lines around your eyes. You understand that you are temporary, but through your gaze, you make meaning of that temporariness. And that meaning is what gives your days their shape. You pause now, not to measure, not to explain, but to feel. You look at a photograph of someone you love, and you remember not just the image, but the day, the smell of the air, the sound of laughter in the background. Your gaze stores time, not in hours or years, but in moments. The human gaze is where time becomes story. You, the teller of tales, have turned the vast ticking of the universe into history, myth, legacy. And yet, even as you build clocks, as you stretch your mind to imagine black holes and light years, you also close your eyes at night and dream. And in that darkness, time bends again. A second can become an hour. An entire life can play out in a moment. The dreamer's gaze is untethered. It does not count. It wanders. It asks the same questions the stars once asked. Who am I? Where did I come from? How long is now? You drift with those questions now. The fire has gone out. The sky is darker. The earth is still spinning. And you are part of its spin. Your molecules remember the sun. Your heartbeat echoes the rhythms of tides. Your gaze, lifted to the stars, is a bridge from the past to the possible. You are not outside of time. You are its witness, its reader, its keeper. And as you breathe here, slowly, softly, you prepare to follow time even further into its deepest distortions. The stars fade, the warmth drains, and silence begins to outlast song. But the universe does not vanish. It lingers, stretches, and settles into something colder, emptier. This is not the bang of an ending, but the long, slow hush of eternity. You lie still now, wrapped in the quiet of time, stretched thin. The stars that once sang to you have begun to fall silent. Their light still travels, but many no longer burn. They have exhausted their fire, their hydrogen, their reasons to shine. And so, you find yourself in a cooling cosmos. This is not the end, but the approach of one. The universe continues to expand, not slowly, but faster with each passing moment. Galaxies drift farther apart. Gravity, though persistent, cannot hold them together forever. Imagine a great fabric being pulled from every corner, a tapestry stretched until the threads are too thin to see. That is the fate of space itself. And so you drift now between those threads, through blackness vast and indifferent, where once there were stars. Their deaths were gentle and not. Some collapsed into quiet dwarfs, fading embers slowly dimming. Others exploded, scattering heavy elements into space. Iron, gold, calcium, the ash that once made you. But in time, even those remnants settle. Black holes grow fat on what remains, and then they too will begin to disappear. You hover near one now. It is not devouring, not snarling, just waiting. It radiates faintly. Stephen Hawking once predicted this, that even black holes lose mass, glow faintly, and evaporate over unfathomable spans of time. So you watch as something once monstrous becomes mist. It may take a trillion years, but the end comes not with violence, with absence. You are adrift now in a universe gone quiet. No more fusion, no more starlight, only cold particles moving through wider and wider space. A time physicists call the heat death, though the word heat feels wrong here. There is no warmth, only entropy, the measure of disorder, spread out so fully that nothing happens anymore. You lie within this stillness. There are atoms, but they do not gather. There is energy, but it no longer flows. All gradients have flattened. All stories have ended. Nothing new begins. And yet, you're still here, imagining, watching. For even in this emptiness, there is a strange comfort. The universe did not burn out in a scream. It dimmed into a whisper, and the whisper lasted. You wonder, in this moment, if endings are ever really endings, or are they just transformations, so slow and vast that the living cannot follow? The cosmos, after all, is a master of patience. You remember the birth of light, the folding of matter, the forging of stars, the breath of life. All of it took time, millions, billions more. And so perhaps this is not a grave, but a cocoon. Perhaps, in the vast nothing, possibility still hums beneath the silence. Some scientists imagine a rebirth, a bounce, a cycle, a new Big Bang, from the fabric of this very emptiness. Others suggest the universe might tunnel into a new vacuum, a place with different laws, where time might start again, with different constants, new stars, other stories. And some believe in no return at all, only this slow fading into darkness. But even that is a kind of beauty, because here you are, thinking it. You, a brief flicker in cosmic time, have imagined the ending of the universe itself. You have brought consciousness to the cold mathematics of decay. You have made the ending gentle by witnessing it. And perhaps that matters. You drift now through the last remaining particles, neutrinos gliding almost untouched, protons beginning to decay, though it may take longer than the age of any star to do so. The very building blocks of matter are unraveling, disassembling. You are witnessing what physicists call the degenerate era, and beyond that, the dark era. It is a time so far in the future that even time itself feels like a memory. And still, something stirs, not in matter, but in mind. You begin to wonder, if everything ends, what gives anything meaning? But then, you remember, it was never the permanence that mattered. It was the experience, the glow of a candle, the laughter of breath, the gaze of a creature at the stars. Meaning was made in the moment, not the forever, and the universe, for all its vastness, for all of its silence, allowed for that. You were here, to gaze, to wonder, to witness. And in that witnessing, you gave the cosmos its own reflection. Perhaps the universe did not need to last forever. Perhaps it only needed to be seen once, clearly, lovingly. You exhale, though there is no breath. You blink, though there is no time. The end may never end. It may stretch on, not as a wall, but as a shore. And maybe, just maybe, there is something beyond it. A new beginning, a new question, a deeper silence, waiting to be broken by the soft sound of a spark. You are time in human form, woven from ancient stars, shaped by moments and memory. You carry the universe's unfolding within you. In your breath, your heartbeat, your dreams, you are the cosmos remembering itself. You lie still now as the long journey winds to a hush. And in this silence, you begin to feel it, not as an idea, but as a truth deep in your bones. You are not in time. You are time. Not a passenger, not a watcher, but the story itself. The rhythm of your heart, that gentle beat, steady, quiet, is the same rhythm that once pulsed through the first stars. The breath moving in your chest was once part of ancient skies, blown across galaxies, whirled through the lungs of trees, exhaled by forgotten creatures, in oceans long dried. The atoms that make your hands were born in fire, forged in the collapse of stars that lived and died before Earth even existed. And yet, somehow, they waited for you, waited to be arranged into fingers that could hold, into skin that could feel warmth, into a mind that could wonder about its own beginning. You are made of time, not just the ticking kind, not just the kind that moves clocks, but the deep time, the slow, spiraling, ancient time that builds mountains, evolves wings, carves valleys, and sculpts thought. You are not separate from it. You are its unfolding. From the moment the universe was born, its particles began drifting apart, searching, assembling, accidentally, and miraculously becoming you. It took billions of years to write the story of your hands, billions more to script the dance of neurons in your brain. Every cell in your body is part of an unbroken chain of life stretching back through eons of trial, of motion, of light. Your ancestors, not just human, but microbial, aquatic, mammalian, all whispered their memory into your bones. And now, here you are, the latest verse in a poem still being written. When you speak, your voice carries the shape of stardust. When you cry, your tears are echoes of primordial rain. When you rest, the universe rests with you. Time is not your enemy. It is your lineage, your reflection, your true name. Even your thoughts are part of this flow. You remember the past. You dream of the future. You imagine. And in imagining, you move beyond the present moment. You bend time within yourself. No other creature holds time like this, like water cupped in gentle hands. You mark it with stories, with birthdays and goodbyes, with the warmth of a shared glance, with the ache of longing for moments that can't return. And yet, they do return, in memory, in meaning, in the way your voice softens when you speak their names. You give time form. You give it feeling. You are a vessel for its passage, its transformation, its grace. Time is not only motion, it is pattern. And you are full of patterns. The rising and falling of breath, the pulsing of blood, the rhythm of sleep and waking, the arc of joy, the gentle decay of grief. Everything about you moves in time. Everything is time, dancing in place. Even now, as you lie here, motionless, in the quiet, your body continues its slow dialogue with the universe. Molecules shifting, neurons pulsing, heart whispering its patient rhythm. Even in stillness, you are not frozen. You are unfolding. And this unfolding, this gentle becoming, is the most sacred rhythm of all. You are not racing against the clock. You are the clock, ticking not toward an end, but toward a deeper knowing, toward the soft understanding that to live even one moment fully is to touch eternity. When you watch the sky as a child, when you trace the stars with your finger, you are not outside the universe, looking in. You are the universe, momentarily aware of itself. A brief, beautiful blink in the long eye of time. And in that awareness, you changed everything. You gave time meaning. Because without a witness, time is only motion. But with you, with your gaze, your memory, your love, it becomes a story. And stories, unlike moments, do not vanish. They echo. Your life is not measured in years. It is measured in presence, in how deeply you listened, in how softly you held someone, in how bravely you forgave, in how gently you loved, not despite time, but because of it. You will not last forever, but you were never meant to. You are not here to be eternal. You are here to be now, to be this breath, this heartbeat, this fleeting, fragile flame. You are time, lit for a little while, so the world can be seen, so love can be known, so sorrow can be honored, so joy can sing its high, bright note into the dark. And in this, you are infinite, because time will go on, and pieces of you will go with it, in the lives you've touched, in the warmth you've offered, in the stardust you return to. And one day, when the universe is older still, and even the stars are quiet, somewhere in the distant echo of all that ever was, there will still be a trace of your breath, your laughter, your questions. You are made of time, and time remembers. So rest now. Let your mind quiet. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on the slow river of the cosmos. You are not behind. You are not ahead. You are here. You are enough. And the universe, vast, silent, ancient, smiles gently because for one precious moment it became you.